G'day, I'm Paul. So are you sick of waiting like 12, 18 months for your RAV4 hybrid? I might have an answer for you, and it's this here, Haval H6. So we've reviewed this car before. You guys actually liked it quite a lot. It got a stack of views in a very short amount of time, but these guys now have a hybrid available in Australia. It's called the Haval H6 Hybrid, and it's in the Ultra trim. So it's right up there in terms of how much spec they throw at it. This is priced at just under $46,000 drive away, but if that's too expensive, the whole range kicks off at a little under 35 grand, but that's not for the hybrid variant. Now this competes with things like the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, the Subaru Forester Hybrid, and the MG HS PHEV. Bit of a mouthful there. Today we're going to do a detailed review of this car, so if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. That way you can find out every single time I get attacked by flies. So let's talk exterior. You've got 7 colours to pick from, all but white is an additional $500-ish. Now I've mentioned before with the design of the H6 that I actually reckon it looks good. It's stylish, it looks and feels premium despite having an affordable price. Now the hybrid has a slightly different design at the front here. You'll notice these side edges and this grille design just look different to other H6 models, so you will be able to tell the hybrid apart from other vehicles out on, or other H6s out on the road. Big Haval logo there. You've got a sensor down here for the radar, and then a little bit of cooling there for that hybrid drivetrain. Now this is a fascinating engine. I'll go into a bit more detail when we do go for a drive, but instead of being naturally aspirated, they use a turbocharged petrol engine in addition to the hybrid drivetrain. So a little more advanced than some of the other hybrids on the market. So looking forward to seeing how that drives in real life. Chrome lashings down the bottom there, and if we jump up to the top here, you've got a set of LED headlights. These work excellent at nighttime. LED daytime running light, LED indicator, LED fog light as well. So it is a fully featured setup. Whip around to the side. Down here you've got a set of 19-inch alloy wheels. Quite like that design. It sort of has a semi-matte finish to it, and it really again adds to the premium look and feel of the car. You've got these wheel arch protectors here. Now you've got a ground clearance of 170 millimeters, which isn't a great deal, and this is only front wheel drive, but we did actually shoot a comparison between this and other medium SUVs in the segment off-road. We did some light off-roading and we're pretty surprised how far this actually went. Now if you do want to watch that, click up here to check out our medium SUV off-road comparison. A little bit more chrome over here. You've got piano black on the lower side of the wing mirror. In addition to that, you have a camera here for the 360 camera and an indicator built into the wing mirror. We've got privacy glass. You've got a panoramic sunroof, roof rails, and then come around to the back. Now you're going to notice this on the road in comparison to other cars because this whole strip here lights up at night time. So it's really quite pronounced when it is out on the road and the lights are on. So that is sort of unique to the H6. Haval branding here, GWM, which stands for Great Wall Motors. And then down here, H6 HEV, which is the hybrid. Now this is unique to the hybrid as well, dual brake lights. No idea why they've gone with dual brake lights for the hybrid, but that is a point of difference. You have a shark fin aerial up the top there and this sort of spoiler thing here as well. So one thing I did notice, when you do fit slimline plates to these, it exposes these bits that are built into the body. So if you do buy one of these, don't go for slimline plates because it just looks a bit strange having these exposed parts down here. You're better off just getting a bigger number plate just to cover that up. So let me know what you think about the design of the H6 here, especially in hybrid trim with all this stuff and the front end differences. Keen for your feedback. Do you think it looks as stylish and premium as I think it does? Let me know down there. So we are inside the H6. We'll start off with the key. So you've got a panic button, lock, boot, unlock, a little bit of chrome on the side there, and then Haval on the back. Now it's a proximity sensing key, so that can just stay in your pocket, and then you have a push button start down here. Look, I think this interior is really nicely presented. If you park this next to a RAV4, RAV4 actually feels really quite dated in terms of things like the infotainment and the driver display. This has a really big infotainment screen there, a nice driver display ahead of the driver, a head-up display, which you still don't get in a RAV4. So I think that they have gone to a lot of effort to make this look and feel premium. It is disappointing that there is so much piano black around here, and you can see it is already filthy, especially here on the door. These high-touch surfaces just get so dirty so quickly. So yeah, I don't know why they insist on using it, but Piano black is everywhere. Now, in terms of all of your touch points, so center console, it's pretty firm, but not too bad to rest on. The door isn't too bad either. How firm are they? Well, we've measured the main surfaces in this cabin with our durometer. If you want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description. I will point out one of the things I am a little disappointed with is how firm this center section is. When I was driving here this morning, my knee was resting on that and that wasn't overly pleasant. In terms of build quality though, that all feels really nice and solid in our door test. Sounds excellent. Let's talk infotainment. So you get a 12.3 inch display here. It's a color touchscreen. And then ahead of the driver, you have a smaller 10.25 inch unit. This infotainment system is great. And when you look at this segment, the segment is kind of a mishmash of infotainment systems. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but what they've done here is really just gone for a high quality screen that gives you everything that you need. It's easy to use, it works quite fast and efficiently, and then it has smartphone mirroring. So you don't have navigation built into it, but a lot of brands are now moving into the space where navigation built into screens is kind of not really happening anymore because you've got to worry about updating and that kind of thing, whereas on your phone, it's just always up to date. On the radio front, you just have AM and FM radio. It's a little bit disappointing. I would have liked to see DAB digital radio there, but you can stream music from your phone if you need to. And that's all driven through an 8-speaker sound system. On the smartphone mirroring front, you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They're both wired, so this is what Apple CarPlay looks like. Full screen integration, pretty quick there, tiny bit laggy, but for the most part, that's actually not too bad. I'll show you what Android Auto looks like. There it is there. So full screen integration, and then when you exit the map menu, you get maps on the side there while you can then scroll up and down on this side. The screen ahead of the driver, this teams up with the head-up display to give you everything that you need. It's pretty straightforward. You've got the right-hand side of controls that allow you to move through different menus on the screen, while your left-hand side controls things like your audio and cruise control is down here. So really good, easy to read, very sharp and clear as well. Now, what about your safety tech? Up the top here, you have autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian, cyclist, and junction assist. So it's a pretty powerful system. You've got an auto dimming rear vision mirror, blind spot monitoring built into the wing mirror, lane departure warning, lane keeping assistant. You have radar cruise control. Then on the parking front, you have both front and rear parking sensors and a 360 camera. I'll give you a little look at that. So this is your 3D view. You can manipulate that with your finger just like this. Then in addition to that, you can switch between different views. Now, what we've started doing, we've put a label on the suitcase there so we can actually try and read it when it is parked behind the car to give you an idea of the quality of the camera. And look at that, that is so sharp. Now, this actually has 720p cameras, so it is very high resolution, and it means that you can easily make out things like that. You then have different zoom functions as well, depending on exactly what you want the car to do, plus a semi-autonomous parking function. So it is a pretty fully featured system, and it is impressive to see that this is just standard equipment on the H6. Moving on to practicality, where are you going to charge your devices? So you have a wireless charging pad just here, so you can whack your phone on that if you want to. You've got one USB down here, which is a bit tricky to reach. USB on my side, you also have a 12-volt outlet. Up the top here, if you want to run a dash cam, you've got a USB up there too, so plenty of options there. Storage, your phone can live on the charger there, or you can slot it there, or in the cup holders, plenty of storage spaces, which is great. Coffee cup. Now, I found out this morning that this doesn't really work all that well because you've got a little divider there that you can retract if you need to, but your copy kind of just sits on a weird angle and it's a bit tricky to reach, so I kind of just prop it up with my key to make sure it's not spillable. But in terms of your bottle, it fits in there without too many dramas. We'll try a big bottle. Okay, so that fits into there if you retract it, which is cool. We'll see if this fits inside the door. You kind of got to jam it in there, but it does fit eventually. In addition to the door storage, you've got storage down here for keys. You've got more storage here in the center console, very deep down there, so plenty of room, which is good to see. Plus stacks of storage down here. Glove box, that's not too bad. It's all pretty reasonably sized, even with the manual in there. And finally, you've got a sunglasses holder up the top. On comfort, you have dual zone automatic climate control. You've got heated seats for both the driver and front passenger. You've got a heated steering wheel. In terms of seat adjustment, you can go forwards, backwards. The backrest can go forwards, backwards. You can lift the seat. You also have lumbar adjustment. Passenger seat is electric as well. On seat comfort, these seats really aren't very comfortable. I did a bit of a longer drive to get here today, and I don't know, I just felt that they weren't really comfortable in addition to this hard plastic thing here. The other problem as well is I can't just lift the front of the seat. I feel like I'm sliding out of the seat constantly. So yeah, a couple of adjustments and seat comfort would be better there, but they look pretty cool. You've got this section cut out of them through the middle there, and they've got a bit of a cool design to them. So yeah, big tick on that, but a little bit more comfort, please, Haval. So second row of the H6, I'm just constantly surprised how much room there is here. Have a look at this. Heaps of knee room, plenty of toe room, really good headroom as well. For this segment, especially if you compare it to something like a CX-5, there is just so much space inside this cabin. So it is pretty surprising when you look at it from the outside, how much space they've carved out inside the cabin. In terms of other creature comforts, you've got air vents here, you've got 2 USB ports, you've got map pockets in the back of the seats, you have ISOFIX points for your 2 outboard seats with 3 top tether points. Center armrest here with 2 cup holders. Fits your bottle in perfectly fine with little grippy sections. Bottle fits inside the... Actually, no, it doesn't. There you go. Well, it does, but it's just really awkward. I don't know why they don't have a cutout there for a bottle. A bit strange. Window, does it go down all the way? No, it's auto down and auto up. Not quite. Just misses out on going down all the way, but pretty close. And then we wrap it up with this big panoramic sunroof up the top. Let's talk cargo space. So we'll crack this open. Now, being a hybrid, they mount the batteries under the boot floor, and I'll show you that in a second. Normally that means you get less space, but what they've done here is they've removed the spare tire as well, so you have a repair kit instead. So this is the cavity that you have, 600 litres. You get storage off to the sides, and then if you look under here, you'll find that tire repair kit and a compressor. And then if you look under this section, I'll rip this up quickly, what you'll find is the 12-volt battery, but also, look at this, that is the 1.8 kilowatt hour battery pack that they use for the hybrid system. So really interesting setup. Normally they hide this stuff and you can't see it, but it is cool to be able to see how this works and how the cooling system works as well. So yeah, pretty interesting setup. Now, how does it fit our bags? Let's give them a shot. So that goes in there, and the other bag goes in here. So plenty of space there, which is good, and a big opening too, so the lip is massive there. And then finally, let's have a look at the expanded space. So no remote release, you've got to do it from here. But once you do drop that down, you have a little under 1,500 litres of cargo capacity. So we've hit the road in the H6 Hybrid. This is a really interesting drivetrain because it's not like a typical hybrid where they just bolt on some batteries, use an existing gearbox, and away they go. They've gone down the path of a fully integrated system with a 2-speed transmission. And it's quite fascinating because it's not like a traditional transmission that has 5 or 6 gears. It has 2 separate gears that act as CVTs, and there are imperceptible shifts between those 2 gears as the car drives. And this feels much like the RAV4 Hybrid when it's moving. So it takes off in that EV mode, nice and quiet, and then as you get up to speed, it will kick on the internal combustion engine as required. Now, the internal combustion engine in this is a 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine. A lot of the other hybrids in this segment use naturally aspirated engines. So that means you're getting a little bit more poke when you do jump on the throttle with this, because your hybrid components fill in the lower end of the rev band, and then once the turbo is spooling, you're basically then fixing that top end as well. So the internal combustion engine makes 110 kilowatts of power and 230 newton meters of torque. So not a huge amount, but it is supplemented by that hybrid drivetrain. The hybrid drivetrain has a 130 kilowatt motor and 300 newton meters of torque. And that all combines to 179 kilowatts of power and 530 newton meters of torque. That is a big old slab of torque, especially for a front wheel drive. That's probably the only disappointment here, that this isn't available as an all-wheel drive, because I think if they did add a second electric motor to this, it's really quite good now, but I think it would really transform the character of it. Now, how quiet is it? It's actually quite good because they're not using a very thrashy sounding engine. It's got a turbocharger on it. It's got a bit of rasp when you get up it. So if you do sink the boot in, you get that kick in the back immediately from the electric components, and then you hear the internal combustion engine come on, but it doesn't rev out of control. It really doesn't penetrate into the cabin in terms of the noise. So it is quite a sort of quiet and civil place to be seated. Now let's talk about ride. The last H6 that we drove was really choppy on our sine wave. So I'm going to put this up to 130 k's an hour again, which is the maximum speed in Australia, and we'll see how this performs as a comparison. Keep in mind this has a bit more weight in the boot thanks to that battery system. Ooh, yeah, this is really not very good. So it feels the same as the other H6 that we drove, where it just sits in the air for way too long. And while the ride is quite bouncy, especially over our sine waves, there's a lack of body control at that upper end. When you are at lower speeds, it's really comfortable. It's very soft and reassuring, and it's quite, you know, I don't know, if you had it full of your family and stuff like that, it would actually be a comfortable highway cruiser. It just comes apart a little bit when you hit those consecutive bumps at highway speeds. What's it like as you're just driving along? Well, we've got our coarse chipped surface here. There is a bit of tyre noise that comes into the cabin, but it really isn't the end of the world. It's a sort of pretty civil place to be seated, and it's not over the top in terms of tyre roar. There is an interesting point here with regen. As you roll out of the throttle, you can actually set how much regen you want. Right now it's in the most aggressive setting. It's actually quite adequate in terms of how much it's regenning, and we've got a little meter down the bottom here that tells us how much charge we're adding to the battery, and I love that. So as you go onto the throttle, it's got power, and then as you go onto the brakes or let out of the throttle, it goes into charge. So it's a good setup. And then on the screen here as well, we can see how the system is being fed, whether it's just by the batteries or whether it's using the internal combustion engine. Let's talk fuel economy. So Haval claims a combined fuel economy of just over 5 litres per 100 kilometres. We're currently averaging 7.7, but I will point something out here. On the drive here, I was averaging 6 litres per 100 k's because it's been darting around here a little bit and sitting idle. It's come up in terms of where it was, but 6 litres per 100 k's for a vehicle this size is really impressive. It's not quite as sharp as a RAV4, which can sit under 5 litres per 100 k's, but this is a really good figure, and I think that if you did have a few more miles under its belt and really got a tune of how this system works, you could actually bring that number down. Now, what's it like if we put it into sport? Flick that across, it randomly flashes the hazard lights. All right, we'll pop it into our corner here. Yeah, because of that really soft suspension, it has, you know, a lot of body roll. But tell you what, when you do actually get up it, it's quite responsive and it's pretty engaging to drive. It sort of picks up and moves. And it's actually surprising how much urge it has regardless of where you are in the rev band. It feels way punchier than something like a RAV4, certainly the front wheel drive version of the RAV4. And it's such a well sorted system that it is so smooth, you really don't notice any of those shifts between the internal combustion engine and the electric components. I know I'm harping on about this, but I'm genuinely surprised how well this hybrid is working, both at low speeds and when the car's moving. It's switching between full EV mode. Like right now we're doing 70 k's an hour and it's in full EV mode, so we're not using any of that internal combustion engine. It's all being powered by the 1.8 kilowatt hour battery. So I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it to be as good as this is, and if anything, it feels as good, if not better, than a RAV4 hybrid in terms of how smooth and compliant it is. Now, we don't have an official 0 to 100 time from Haval for the hybrid, but this is how it went up against our stopwatch. Now, what about your visibility? So I can see clearly down the front there, there's pretty big wing mirrors with blind spot monitor built into those. Visibility out the back is okay, but it's a very narrow envelope there for the window. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, especially with these high quality 360 camera. You can park it very easily. You've got the auto parking feature. It really is a good setup. So the Haval H6 Hybrid, I've got a confession to make. I thought this was actually going to be not very good, and I based that assumption on the fact that stuff like the Subaru Forester Hybrid is just not very good at all. The HS from MG, the PHEV, it's not amazing, so I thought this was just going to be more of the same thing. And Toyota, to be honest, just leads the hybrid segment. But this has changed my mind. The way they've integrated that turbocharged petrol engine with that sort of 2-speed CVT style gearbox with a 1.8 kilowatt hour battery is really impressive. And if you are driving sensibly in and around town, you're going to reap the rewards of a fully hybrid drivetrain. So yeah, I was super impressed with it. In terms of things they can improve, the body control is just not very good. And we saw there on the sine waves that it almost leaves the ground, and that is something that they really need to work on, and perhaps investing in Australian ride and handling tuning is going to fix that problem. Sorry to interrupt the video. I just wanted to point out something I noticed after spending a bit more time with the Haval H6 after we filmed it, and that was the brake pedal feel. It really wasn't very good. The pedal would sometimes depress on its own when it was in regen mode, and the pedal would get firm. It just really was a little bit unnerving. So please make sure you do a test drive before you buy one to make sure that you're happy with that. I think that plus that body control issue really needs addressing. But outside of that, it did represent good value for money, and it's actually pretty good to drive outside of those two things. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please make sure you hit the like button and share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, take it easy.